Security Chief Riker Nash stood at his post in Helio Station's primary checkpoint, his weathered hands resting on the sleek console before him. The massive window behind him offered a breathtaking view of the Andromeda Arm, but after 15 years of service, he barely noticed it anymore. The steady stream of varied alien species passing through his checkpoint had become routine, each scan just another tick in the daily log. The station's artificial lighting shifted to simulate dawn, casting a warm glow across the pristine white walls. Riker's augmented vision interface highlighted each traveler with relevant security metrics, threat assessments, clearance levels, and biological markers all neatly categorized and color-coded. Next, he called out, his deep voice carrying the authority of someone who'd seen everything the galaxy had to offer. Or so he thought. The woman who stepped forward made him pause. She was celestial, one of the mysterious species from the outer rim. Her skin held a subtle phosphorescent sheen, like starlight captured in crystal. But it was her eyes that caught his attention, deep violet pools that seemed to hold entire nebulae within them. "Welcome to Helio Station," Riker said, maintaining his professional demeanor. "Standard DNA verification scan for all visitors." He gestured to the scanner, expecting the usual procedure. The woman, her documents identified her as Naira Starweave, placed her hand on the scanner with practiced ease. The device hummed, its quantum processors analyzing her genetic structure at the molecular level. Riker glanced at his display, expecting the standard readout. The console erupted in a cascade of red warnings. But these weren't security alerts, these were genetic markers he'd never seen before. As the data streamed across his screen, his augmented vision interface struggled to categorize the information. Then he saw it. A genetic pattern he recognized. His own. Riker's heart thundered in his chest as the implications hit him. The genetic markers showed a parental match, his DNA, combined with celestial sequences, creating something entirely new. His mind raced back 17 years, to a diplomatic summit on the edge of known space. To another celestial woman, whose name he never learned, who disappeared after one night of impossible connection. "Is everything all right?" Naira asked, her voice carrying the musical quality typical of her species. Riker forced himself to maintain composure, years of training kicking in. "Yes, just a minor system glitch. Welcome to Helio Station." He handed back her credentials, watching as she walked away, her movements carrying an ethereal grace. As soon as she was out of sight, he accessed the station's secure database. The genetic scan had triggered a dormant protocol, something classified far above his security clearance. Within moments, his console chimed with a priority message from Dr. Thura Void Whisper, the station's lead xenogeneticist. "Chief Nash," the message read, "please report to Lab 0 immediately. What we feared has begun." Lab 0. The station's most secretive research facility, buried deep within the secure sectors. Riker had always assumed it was just another bureaucratic designation. Now, as he made his way through the station's winding corridors, each step felt heavy with destiny. The woman, Naira, wasn't just any traveler. She was his daughter. And something told him this was just the beginning of a much larger revelation. As he approached Lab 0's reinforced doors, Riker caught his reflection in the polished surface. The same strong features he saw every morning, but now they seemed different, as if he was seeing them through new eyes. Eyes that might be carried by others, unknown to him, somewhere out there in the vast expanse of space. The doors parted with a soft hiss, revealing Dr. Thura Void Whisper. The celestial scientist's own phosphorescent skin cast subtle patterns across her laboratory equipment. Her expression carried both concern and something else, anticipation. "Chief Nash," she said, her violet eyes meeting his, "we need to talk about Project Starchild. And why your daughter's arrival changes everything." Riker stepped into the lab, the doors sealing behind him with a finality that seemed to echo through his very bones. Whatever came next would reshape not just his life, but perhaps the very future of human-celestial relations. As Dar. Void Whisper pulled up holographic displays filled with genetic data, Riker couldn't help but think of Naira, the daughter he never knew he had. She was out there somewhere in his station, carrying within her DNA a secret that was only beginning to unfold. The game of life had just changed, and he was somehow at the center of it all. Dr. Thura Void Whisper's laboratory hummed with quantum processors as holographic DNA strands danced through the air. Riker watched his own genetic code intertwine with celestial sequences, creating patterns that defied conventional science. Project Starchild wasn't just an experiment, Thura explained, her fingers manipulating the holographic displays with practiced precision. It was a response to a discovery that shook both our civilizations. 17 years ago, we found something in the void sectors, ancient ruins that spoke of a coming darkness. Commander Zena Lightbridge entered the lab, her commanding presence drawing both their attention. Her silver uniform bore the marks of both human and celestial authority, unusual for a station commander. "Show him," she ordered Thura. The holographic display shifted, revealing footage from deep space. Massive structures floated in the void, their surfaces etched with symbols that made Riker's eyes hurt to look at. These ruins contained prophecies, Zena continued, about a threat that could only be stopped by beings who carried both human and celestial DNA. "So you engineered children?" Riker's voice carried an edge of anger. "Without telling the parents?" "No," Thura's voice softened. "We discovered that natural unions between humans and celestials could produce something extraordinary. Something even the ancients couldn't create artificially. We simply encouraged certain meetings." Riker thought back to that diplomatic summit, to the celestial woman he'd met. Naira's mother, she was part of this? "Lyra Starshine," Zena confirmed. "One of our most brilliant geneticists. She discovered that human adaptability combined with celestial energy manipulation could create beings of unprecedented potential. But she also knew that such children needed to develop naturally, without interference." A soft chime interrupted them. Security feeds showed Naira entering the station's quantum observatory, her hands trailing patterns of light across the ancient instruments. As they watched, the devices responded to her presence, awakening systems that had been dormant for centuries. "She doesn't know, does she?" Riker asked, though he already knew the answer. "About any of this?" "No," Thura admitted. Like the others, she was raised believing she was simply gifted. The abilities manifested gradually, enhanced intuition, energy manipulation, quantum resonance. But now? Now what? The laboratory's lights flickered as alarms began blaring throughout the station. Thura's instruments exploded with readings as Naira's presence in the observatory triggered something none of them had anticipated. "The ancient technology," Zena breathed, "it's responding to her DNA. To the perfect balance of human and celestial genes." Security feeds showed Naira standing in the observatory's center, surrounded by swirling patterns of light. Her eyes glowed with inner fire as dormant systems awakened around her. The station itself seemed to pulse in response, quantum fields rippling through its structure. "We have to tell her," Riker insisted, already moving toward the door. "She deserves to know." "Wait," Thura caught his arm, her touch sending tiny sparks of energy between them. "There's more. Naira isn't the only one. Project Starchild facilitated 17 such unions. 17 children, each carrying the potential to bridge our species and face what's coming." "What exactly is coming?" Riker demanded. The station shuddered as if in response. Deep space sensors blared warnings as something massive emerged from the quantum void. Through the laboratory's viewport, they watched as space itself seemed to tear open, revealing shapes that shouldn't exist in normal reality. "That," Zena said grimly, "is what's coming. And your daughter may be the only one who can stop it." The security feeds showed Naira still in the observatory, but now she wasn't alone. Other visitors to the station, ones who had passed through various checkpoints throughout the day, were gathering around her. Young men and women, each bearing subtle signs of both human and celestial heritage. They moved with unconscious synchronization, drawn together by forces beyond their understanding. All 17, Thera whispered. They've been drawn here, just as the prophecies said they would be. Riker watched as his daughter, surrounded by others like her, began to glow with inner light. The ancient technology pulsed in response, creating patterns that matched the symbols found in those mysterious ruins. I'm going to her, he declared. Not as part of your project, not as a security chief, but as her father. Whatever's coming, whatever plans you've made, she deserves to face it knowing who she is. Who we all are. As he strode from the laboratory, Riker felt the station's vibrations change frequency. Something was awakening, not just in the technology or in the hybrid children, but in the very fabric of space itself. The game hadn't just changed, it was transforming into something entirely new. And somewhere in the quantum observatory, his daughter stood at the center of it all, about to learn truths that would reshape not just her world, but the very future of both their species. Riker raced through Helio Station's corridors, the quantum disturbances growing stronger with each step. Emergency lights cast pulsing shadows as the station's artificial gravity fluctuated. Through his security feed, he watched Naira and the other hybrid children creating patterns of light that seemed to defy physics itself. The quantum observatory's doors parted before him, revealing a scene that took his breath away. 17 young men and women stood in a perfect circle, their combined energy creating a holographic display of the galaxy unlike anything he'd ever seen. At the center stood Naira, her phosphorescent skin now blazing like a newborn star. The convergence has begun, a familiar voice said. Lyra Starshine stepped from the shadows, looking exactly as she had 17 years ago. Her violet eyes met Riker's with a mixture of regret and determination. Our children will either save both our species or witness the end of everything. You could have told me, Riker said, his voice tight with emotion. All these years. Would you have believed me? Lyra moved closer, her presence stirring memories of that long-ago night. Would you have accepted that our brief connection was part of something vast and ancient? That our daughter would carry within her the key to unlocking powers beyond comprehension? Before he could respond, the observatory's ancient technology pulsed with new energy. The hybrid children's combined power had activated something deep within the station's quantum core. Images filled the air around them, glimpses of other realities, other possibilities. Father. Naira's voice carried across the chamber, her eyes meeting his for the first time with recognition. I can see everything. The connections, the patterns, the truth of what we are. The other hybrid children turned toward them, their faces showing similar awareness. Each bore subtle combinations of human and celestial features, testament to Project Starchild's scope. Through their combined power, the ancient technology was revealing secrets hidden for millennia. The void entities, one of the young men said, his voice resonating with newfound knowledge. They consume realities, devour entire universes. They've been trapped between dimensions, but now they're breaking free. Dr. Thera and Commander Zena arrived, their expressions mixing awe with concern as they witnessed the power display. The station's quantum fields rippled as space itself seemed to bend around the gathered hybrids. The ancients knew this would happen, Naira continued, her voice carrying echoes of ancient wisdom. They saw that only the combined strength of human adaptability and celestial energy manipulation could create beings capable of sealing the dimensional barriers. Through the observatory's massive windows, they watched as reality itself began to tear. Massive shapes moved in the void, entities of such cosmic scale that human minds struggled to comprehend them. The station's sensors screamed warnings as quantum readings went off the charts. We need to evacuate the station, Commander Zena ordered, but Naira shook her head. No, she said firmly. This is where we make our stand. The station itself is part of the Ancients' plan. Its quantum core was designed to amplify our abilities, to give us the power we need. Riker stepped closer to his daughter, feeling the energy radiating from her like waves of starlight. Whatever you need to do, you won't face it alone. Not anymore. Lyra moved to join them, completing a family triangle that seemed to strengthen the energy patterns flowing through the observatory. The ancients left more than just prophecies, she revealed. They left instructions, encoded in the very DNA we share. Knowledge that would only become accessible when all 17 children reached maturity. The hybrid children began to move in perfect synchronization, their combined power creating geometric patterns of pure energy. The ancient technology responded, transforming the observatory into something that bridged dimensions. "We are the bridge," Naira declared, her voice carrying the weight of destiny. "Between species, between dimensions, between what is and what could be. The void entities consume because they cannot understand connection, cannot comprehend the power of unified diversity." Through their combined consciousness, Riker glimpsed what they faced, beings of such cosmic scale that galaxies were mere motes in their vision. But he also saw hope in the unprecedented power of these children, born of two species but transcending both. The station's quantum core pulsed with building energy as the hybrid children prepared to face an enemy that threatened not just their reality, but all realities. Ancient technology and evolved biology working in harmony to create something entirely new. "Together," Naira said, reaching for both her parents' hands. The gesture was echoed by the other hybrids, each drawing strength from their dual heritage. "We bridge the void not with weapons or walls, but with understanding. With connection. With love." As the void entities approached Helio Station, 17 children of two species stood ready to fulfill an ancient prophecy. And at the heart of it all, a family reunited found strength in the very differences that had once kept them apart. Helio Station shuddered as reality buckled around it. Through the quantum observatory's windows, the void entities manifested as massive geometric patterns that hurt the mind to observe. Their presence caused nearby stars to flicker like candles in a cosmic wind. The 17 hybrid children had formed a complex geometric pattern, their combined energy creating shields that kept the station intact as space itself threatened to tear apart. Naira stood at the pattern's heart, her hands weaving strands of quantum energy that connected each of her fellow hybrids. "The station's quantum core is approaching critical resonance," Dr. Thura reported, her instruments struggling to measure the unprecedented energy levels. "Whatever you're going to do, it needs to happen soon." Riker watched as his daughter coordinated the hybrid defense, her movements displaying both human intuition and celestial precision. Lyra worked alongside her, mother and daughter in perfect synchronization as they manipulated energies that defied conventional physics. "There," Naira called out, her voice carrying harmonic overtones that made the station structure vibrate. The pattern in their movement, they're not just consuming reality, they're searching for something. Through their combined consciousness, the hybrids shared a vision of the void entity's true nature. These weren't simple destroyers, but beings of pure quantum potential, unable to fully manifest in any single reality. Their consumption wasn't malice, it was desperate hunger for stability. "They're lonely," one of the hybrid children whispered, tears streaming down her face as she felt the entity's ancient pain. "They destroy because they can't connect, can't understand what it means to be part of something larger." Commander Zena's voice crackled over the station's comm system, multiple breaches detected in the lower sectors. "Reality distortions are spreading throughout the station. We're losing structural integrity." But Naira had seen something in the quantum patterns, a possibility that the ancients had encoded in their very DNA. "We don't need to fight them," she declared. "We need to show them another way. All of us, human, celestial, hybrid, we're proof that separation can become synthesis." The hybrid children began to move in a new pattern, their energy no longer forming shields but instead creating bridges of pure possibility. The ancient technology responded, transforming the quantum observatory into a dimensional nexus point. "Chief Nash," Dr. Thura called out urgently, "your presence in the pattern, it's not just symbolic. The quantum readings show that parental DNA acts as a stabilizing force. Riker understood. He and Lyra stepped into the geometric pattern their daughter had created, their positions forming perfect triangles with their children. Other parents emerged from hiding, humans and celestials who had participated in Project Starchild, drawn by the same force that had brought their children together. The station's quantum core pulsed with newfound power as family bonds strengthened the hybrid energy matrix. Through their shared consciousness, Riker experienced his daughter's gift, the ability to see connections that transcended normal space and time. "We offer you connection," Naira's voice resonated through dimensions, addressing the void entities directly. "Not consumption, but communion. Not destruction, but synthesis." The massive entities paused in their approach, their geometric patterns shifting as they encountered something entirely new. Through the hybrid interface, they experienced the complexity of connected consciousness, the strength found in unified diversity. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as cosmic forces balanced on a quantum edge. Then, slowly, the void entities began to change. Their destructive geometries transformed into patterns that complemented rather than consumed, their ancient hunger finding satisfaction in connection rather than destruction. The ancients didn't build weapons, Lyra realized, watching as the entities transformed. They created the potential for this moment, knowing that only beings born of genuine connection could show the void entities another way. The quantum observatory filled with light as 17 hybrid children, supported by their parents and the ancient technology, demonstrated the power of unified diversity to beings that had known only isolation. The void entity's transformation sent ripples through reality itself, healing dimensional breaches and stabilizing quantum fluctuations. Riker found himself holding both Lyra's hand and his daughter's, their family bond adding strength to the larger pattern. Through their shared connection, he felt the moment the void entities finally understood, the profound revelation that destruction was not the only path to existence. As the crisis passed and reality stabilized, the hybrid children maintained their connection, their combined consciousness now bridging not just human and celestial understanding, but touching the very fabric of spacetime itself. They had not merely averted destruction, they had transformed it into a new form of creation. The ancient prophecies had spoken of salvation, but they hadn't mentioned that it would come not through victory in battle, but through the simple, profound power of showing lonely beings that connection was possible. 1 month after the void entity convergence, Helios Station hummed with transformed energy. The quantum observatory, once a hidden sanctuary of ancient technology, had become the heart of a new era. Where there were once stark dividing lines between human and celestial sections, now the station's very architecture seemed to flow in harmonious synthesis. Riker stood at his old security checkpoint, now transformed into an integration center for arriving visitors. The DNA scanner that had started everything now served a different purpose, helping people understand their own quantum potential. Through the massive windows, he could see the transformed void entities dancing through space like cosmic aurora, their presence now enhancing reality rather than consuming it. "Still getting used to the changes?" Lyra asked, appearing beside him with that ethereal grace he remembered. Her phosphorescent skin glowed softly in harmony with the station's new quantum rhythms. Their relationship had evolved too, finding a balance between their past connection and their shared future. "Every day brings something new," he replied, watching as a young human celestial couple approached the scanner. Since the convergence, such unions had become more common, as both species recognized the potential in their combined heritage. Naira's latest report from the Quantum Academy is fascinating. Their daughter had transformed the station's research wing into a center for studying the new possibilities unveiled by the hybrid children's achievement. The 17 had become teachers, helping others understand the profound connections that existed between all forms of life. "The quantum resonance patterns are stabilizing," Dr. Thera announced, entering with her latest readings. The xenogeneticist's instruments now measured things that would have been considered impossible just weeks ago. The hybridization process is occurring naturally now, without any need for genetic engineering. Commander Xena joined them, her uniform now bearing the new symbol of the United Species Council. The other stations are reporting similar developments. The transformation is spreading throughout known space. Through the observatory's enhanced windows, they watched as another void entity approached the station. Instead of fear, its presence brought a sense of expanded consciousness. The beings had become bridges themselves, helping to stabilize the quantum boundaries between realities. Naira emerged from a quantum portal, her presence immediately felt through the station's enhanced systems. She had grown into her role as a teacher and guide, helping others understand the profound changes reshaping their civilization. The other hybrid children were scattered throughout known space, each leading their own centers of transformation and study. "We've received the first readings from the ancient ruins," she announced, her excitement palpable in the quantum field they all now shared to some degree. "They're not just ruins, they're nodes in a vast network. The ancients created quantum waypoints, preparing for this evolution." "And the prophecies?" Riker asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Not prophecies at all," Lyra confirmed, "but quantum echoes. The ancients experienced their own convergence, their own transformation. They left behind a roadmap, knowing that eventually our species would be ready for the same journey." The station shuddered slightly as reality rippled, another dimensional boundary dissolving not in destruction, but in harmonious integration. Through their enhanced perception, they could feel the changes spreading throughout the galaxy. Human adaptability and celestial energy manipulation had combined to create something entirely new, a civilization that transcended traditional boundaries. "The children from the new unions are already showing signs of natural quantum awareness," Dr. Thura reported, her instruments tracking the ongoing evolution. "Each generation will build on the foundation we've created." Riker watched as his daughter demonstrated quantum principles to a group of eager students, humans, celestials, and everything in between. The simple DNA scan that had revealed her existence had led to this, not just the salvation of their reality, but its transformation into something far more profound. "We thought Project Starchild was about creating defenders," Commander Zenem mused, "but it was really about becoming bridges. Between species, between realities, between what was and what could be." The quantum observatory filled with soft light as Naira initiated another teaching session. The students' combined consciousness reached out to touch the transformed void entities, learning to navigate the enhanced reality that their civilizations now shared. "This is just the beginning," Lyra said softly, her hand finding Riker's. "Every connection creates new possibilities. Every understanding opens new doorways." As they stood together, human, celestial, and hybrid, watching the next generation explore their expanded potential, Riker reflected on how far they'd come. A routine DNA scan had revealed not just a hidden daughter, but a hidden destiny for two species. The mystery had become a miracle, the crisis had become an opportunity, and the boundaries between what was and what could be had dissolved into pure potential. The transformed void entities danced through space around Helio Station, their patterns now speaking of connection rather than consumption. They had become living proof that even the most profound isolation could be transformed through understanding and unity. In the end, the greatest discovery hadn't been the hybrid children's power or the ancient technology's purpose. It had been the simple truth that love, between parents and children, between species, between realities themselves, was the most transformative force in any universe.